Hey, Larry here. Acts 29 today, coming to you from Sunny World headquarters in Chiang Mai, Thailand. There's a lot of new content now on the Acts 29 Today YouTube channel. And we're going to take a deep dive into the truth and the lies that are affecting the world and especially the church in these days. So if you'd like to come along, welcome to the journey. Oh, and by the way, just because others won't does not mean that you can't. I'll see you soon. Hey, Larry here. Welcome to the journey. Well, we're going to continue on here with the discipleship stuff because it's something that's he's really speaking to me about these days. And so I'm just going to continue on in this direction. So I need to just talk a little bit here about what did Jesus exactly say about becoming a disciple. You know, what did Jesus say? Well, in John 8:31, it says, "So Jesus said to those Jews who had believed in him, if you..." Now, we could take a few months here and talk about if you, because if you is probably some of the most important words in the universe. If you, for God so loved the world, that whosoever, if you believe in him. So these are conditions. If you abide and live, abide means to live. If you live in my word, and we know in other places he said, if you live in my words will live in you. So if you live in my word, hold fast to my teachings, and live in accordance with them, in other words, being obedient to them, you are truly my disciples. If is the big condition. Okay, so these Jews believed in him, and he said, well, if you live in my word and my teachings and are obedient to them, then you are my disciples. And you will know the truth, and the truth, oh, what truth is that? The truth that you know. Truth you don't know can't set you free, but the truth you know will set you free. Well, in this context, he was speaking to these Jews about his death and resurrection, and then they would be able to be born again. And knowing that truth would set them free, because he is the truth. Well, they didn't understand that. And so before long, in the rest of the story, they were questioning him about why would they be set free? They were sons of Abraham, and after a while it got down to where Jesus said they were of their father the devil. And before that situation was over, those Jews that had believed in him, because of what he said after that, they got so upset they took up stones and were going to stone him. So that's how fast things can go the other direction. Now, in Luke 14, there were huge crowds going along with Jesus, and he turned and said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother, his wife, children, brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And of course, here he's talking figuratively in the sense of indifference to or relative disregard for these people in comparison with their attitude toward God. So he's not talking about hating them like we hate sin. He's talking about in comparison for our love to God, it would look like we didn't even have any regard for our own family or our own life. Also, whoever does not persevere and carry his own cross. We're going to talk a little bit about that more later. Self-denial, that can only come through the mortification process. That is the dying daily to the flesh. Whoever does not persevere and carry his own cross and come after me, following me, cannot be my disciples. He didn't say it'd be hard to be, or it was going to take a while. He said he cannot be my disciple, cannot be my student, cannot be my apprentice. In Jesus' day, people would give up their entire life in order to be with their teacher. So there were people who would sit at Gamal's feet and Plato and these philosophers, and they would give up their entire life and just stay with these people every day to be their disciples and learn from them. So the disciple didn't only seek to know what the teacher knew, as is usually the case today, but would also do what the teacher did. And then he said, for which of you wishing to build a farm building does not first sit down and calculate the cost? Calculate the cost to see whether he has sufficient means to finish it. Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is unable to complete the building, all who see it will begin to mock and jeer at him, saying, this man began to build, but was not able to finish, was not able to fight the good fight, keep the faith, and finish the race. So then if any of you who does not forsake and renounce and surrender, claim to and give up and say goodbye to all that he has, cannot be my disciple. In other words, he was saying, what is this going to cost me? What is this going to cost me? Well, it's going to cost me everything. Everything is what it's going to cost me. You see, when people start on this journey with God, they have no idea what it will cost them to finish the journey in victory and maturity. I had no idea when I started this journey what it was going to cost me later on to keep going on this journey. I had some friends, and just a couple of examples. One guy, he was on fire for God in the beginning, and you'd have bet the farm he had never had any problems. But, somewhere along the line, the cost got so great that he wasn't really willing to pay it. And his life, got into some serious tests and trials, and ended up getting divorced, and the last I heard, he was living in Idaho somewhere in a little cabin, just drinking beer and watching movies all day with his son. Another good friend of mine that was supposed to be the pastor of one of the biggest churches in Portland, he ended up not getting that position. And so he ended up going into computer business in Seattle. It was very successful. He made a lot of money. And then through all that, he'd always had kind of an inkling towards alcohol, and so the business went down. He lost the business, started drinking again, ended up divorced, and my good friend texted me one day and said that this guy, they found him dead in his bathtub. Now, I don't know if he committed suicide or just alcohol and he drowned in the bathtub. Whatever, it wasn't a good ending. Now, there are many, many other exits off the path to supernatural maturity. I had my own times. I had my own thoughts of suicide. I had thoughts of going to 7-Eleven and getting milk and never coming home, just run away, go back to selling drugs when the money supply wasn't working, and on and on. And most of these things were just my own fault. It wasn't my wife, wasn't the kids, it was just me. And I finally came to the place somewhere along the line where I ran out of excuses. I didn't have any more excuses. Just didn't have any. I had had so many excuses for so many years, and then I ran out. And I even wrote a little booklet about life after your last excuse. It's on the Facebook page, Acts 29 Today Books. You can find it there. So then he went on to say that salt is an excellent thing, but if salt has lost its strength and become saltless, how shall saltness be restored? See, salt only loses its strength through one thing, and that's mixture. It becomes insipid and flat and loses its power when it's mixed with something else. So how can it be restored? It is neither fit for the land. They used it a lot in those days for fertilizer, not for food, nor the manure heap, because salt was used to put in the toilet holes to decompose the matter. So men threw it away, and it's trodden underfoot of men. So the women would buy this bags of salt that was collected by the Dead Sea, and sometimes these people would put a little sand in it to get a little more weight into it. And when the women would find out it was mixed with sand, and they'd just throw it out in the street because it wasn't good to use. So otherwise, when he's laid the foundation, unable to complete the building, people will see it and mock and jeer, saying, "This man began to build and was not able to finish. He was ears to hear, let him hear, and listen and comprehend by hearing spiritually." So today, unfortunately, a lot of people, they listen, but they don't hear. They don't hear spiritually. So next time we're going to continue on with some more things that Jesus said about discipleship. And remember, just because others won't doesn't mean that you can't, because you can, if you will. And you only know if you will. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your time. And we're going to continue on with some good stuff. I'm also over on Spotify at Acts 29 Today, where I go into these like a half an hour, a little longer. So thanks again. God loves you. I love you. And I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.